Hello, America, and welcome to the Junto podcast, where we promote the practical application of critical thinking and bold creativity. I am your host, Edgar Mills. All right, hello, folks, and welcome back to the Junto podcast. This is episode 6. And in episode 6, I am going to talk about some common threads in daily life. Whatever the topic is and whatever things you're out there doing, there are some common threads that touch us all. Well, such as values, or such as priorities, or leadership, or discipline, all those things. They are sprinkled in everything we do throughout life. So the first thing I want to talk about is my own difficulty with, what's the word I'm looking for? Discipline. My own difficulty with discipline. Now, fortunately, this week, I'm going to be getting an ankle operation, a long-awaited ankle operation to help me to be able to walk and run and do all the things that I need to do, that I already do, just not at a standard that I need to be doing them at. My discipline has waned, partly for feeling sorry for myself, and partly from being busy and things like that. But it's easy to come up with excuses for things. So my discipline has waned, and I don't like that. I don't like the way it makes me feel. Really, even right now, I'm not very happy with myself. And is it probably wrong for me to hedge all my bets on this ankle surgery? Either way, success or not, I need to start doing physical fitness again to my max capacity. And that is my confession to you all, that I have not been doing fitness to my max capacity. At any rate, say a prayer and keep your fingers crossed, and hopefully it comes out well, and then I can get back on it. Now, that being said, no matter what the outcome, I'm going to get back on it. I have to. I have no option. My credibility depends on it. I think I'm extremely skilled in shooting guns, and that's what I train people to do. But also I have to be able to perform on a mountain, for instance. We also do a mountaineer course that I will confess the last one we did, I was suffering going up the mountain, but more importantly, coming down the mountain, I was suffering. And there's not really much to do or say about it. It's just the facts. I may have suffered a little less if I were more fit, but that's the way it is. So discipline doesn't, unlike motivation, right? Motivation comes and goes, especially my motivation comes and goes. What does get me amped up and motivated is hanging around other folks who are doing fitness and doing the things that I want to be able to do. But even then, as grown-ups, we all have busy lives and things like that. And so that's something I'm looking to try and change. I want to put myself around or surround myself with people who are doing the bigger, better things than I'm doing. So yeah, my job, is it suffering? No, we've been quite busy. Private sessions are blowing up. Courses are doing well. Man, I appreciate all the folks that come out. And I'm giving you 100% of my marksmanship knowledge. And I do, when I run the drills that are movement drills, I put 100% in. Now, if I'm absolutely physically not able, I just won't run the drill. I won't do it. But when I do run them, I run them at my max capacity for what my capacity is right now. So my confession of not being disciplined right now doesn't include, yes, I am giving you 100% every time, and I promise you that. So we're just going to move my 100% metric up higher. So discipline, and motivation are different. Everybody knows this, especially all these training gurus, these fitness gurus. They all know this. People pay those folks a lot of money to tell them that. Just show up, get up, go do the thing. It doesn't matter really how you feel about it. But that's true. However, feelings cannot be ignored or discounted. Self-pity, for instance, is a strong emotion. Some people cave to it easily. Some can fight through it. Feelings of, I'm overwhelmed with work. That's easy to cave into. Being overwhelmed with work is easy to cave into. You have to make time. Time management, that's a big deal. What comes first is you have to prioritize what's important to you. You have to be disciplined to give that priority the time it deserves on your list of priorities. And that's it. In the business we're in, a lot of times, guys having feelings about anything one way or the other is, other than anger, is considered silly or non-existent. I make fun of my wife a lot, who feels like sometimes that I do not have a single feeling in my body. That's not true. When my feelings get hurt, I just don't share that with anybody. And that might be one of the downsides of being a dude, being the, I don't know what personality, type A personality or whatever, where you don't ever show any emotion at all. I'm not saying become an emotional mess either. I'm just saying be in touch with how you feel. And if you're feeling bad or not doing the things you need to do, defeat that, just figure out how to defeat it and use discipline and priorities to carry you through. Motivation will come and go, man. Yeah, motivation will come and go. It's fleeting. And the older you get, I feel the less motivated you are to do a lot of things. I'm highly motivated to work on my business things, but you can only sit at a computer so much. I'm highly motivated to do the courses when we have the courses, but that's only it's 8 hours on the range or 4 hours depending on the course. And then boom, that's it. Discipline. That's a common thread in our life. Some of us have it, some of us don't, but it's necessary in all the things you do. The gym is just one of them. It's just one of the most common, one of the most popular. Everyone needs to exercise more. There's no great revelation there. Everyone needs to exercise more, but discipline and eating better is difficult, especially when you grew up eating junk. But never mind your health and working out, discipline at work, especially if you're working for someone else and you find it difficult to put out, to give 100%. Discipline is what makes you do that. And if you can overcome your feelings about your boss being an a-hole or just maybe not even noticing the level of effort you put in, if you can ignore those things, use your discipline to fight through and just do the best job that you can do. People notice. That's a thing that I discounted in my life, most of my life, is that thinking that people didn't notice your level of commitment or your level of effort. But for them to notice when you don't put the effort or commitment in, they would also have to be noticing that you are putting the effort or commitment in. So that it's a two-way street there, that we get sucked into a hole of thinking it's a one-way street. They only see when I'm not putting out, but they don't see when I am putting out. Well, if you put out all the time, then there's no worries there. That don't mean they're going to appreciate it, but it doesn't mean they're not either. Discipline at work is very important, because that's being true to yourself as well. Now, look, if you don't like who you're working for, do the things you need to do to move on. If you need to take a course or get a certification or something like that, and you just been putting it off. If you don't like what you're doing and it's really having an effect on your life, come up with an exit strategy and get out of there. and work for some place or some person that will give you a little bit of fulfillment or a little bit of that outward appreciation if that's what you're looking for. Think about that. You don't have to be stuck. We're not always trapped in a job because we've been there for a while and we can't find another job or something like that. There are so many ways to make yourself valuable. Now, there may seem like there's a ticking clock on that the older you get, and that may be true, especially up into your probably early mid 60s or so. You're getting close to that retirement age. You may have a whole lot of expertise, but you're rapidly approaching a retirement age. So that there's all sorts of factors there. But if you're in your 20s or 30s and you're not happy with what you're doing, get happy. Make yourself go find another job. Take the plunge. And if you don't have a whole lot of responsibilities like children and things like that, take the plunge and try to start your own business. I know plenty of guys that just went and bought a riding mower and some yard tools and started their own landscaping business. And of those guys, I know 2 or 3 of them that have multiple employees and have expanded and have, a fleet of friggin' trucks and equipment. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist either to start your own business. So if it's more important to you to work for yourself than it is someone else, something as simple as cutting grass might be your way out. Now, having your own business is not easy by any stretch, but you may prefer that struggle over working for someone else. I know I do. I certainly do. To compare and contrast working for myself versus, never mind the military because that's an extreme example, but even doing some contracting after the fact when I'd go back to Fort Bragg or go overseas or something, my heart absolutely was not in it. And then any little ripple, anything that was, any obstacle that may have popped up, I wasn't there for it. Now I gave 100%, don't get me wrong, but in my mind, I was like, okay, this is it. This is the last one. I'm out of here. I don't want to work for this person. It doesn't matter how much money you make. At some point, the money is just absolutely not the thing. I know that's easy to say. Believe me, I'm a paycheck to paycheck guy still. So my paychecks just come in increments of every time I do sessions and courses and stuff like that, instead of on a weekly basis. So if you're able to get outside of a routine like that, even, I can tell you now, I retired in 2020 and my life has still not been on a standard routine. And that's not by design, really. Sometimes I can't seem to get on a routine. Now, I do my courses on the same, on the weekends, and then the private sessions and things like that. Those happen throughout the week. And I've set some parameters. We don't start shooting before 10 a.m., for instance, just because I want to be a good neighbor. I haven't given myself any days off. Now there'll be days where I don't have any customers at all, but on the weekends, or if I have customers for 20 days in a row, then I just have customers for 20 days in a row. That doesn't bother me as much as it does my wife, but that's the way I look at it. I'm not on a routine. If the business comes, I do the business. If it doesn't, I don't. My sleep schedule is still not quite, and this ain't a discipline issue, I don't think. We go to bed pretty early. I just don't get that good of sleep, and then I end up sleeping late, and because I'm tossing and turning all night. So I think there's some other things beyond discipline that affect that, but I don't know. Certainly my physical exertion throughout the day will affect that. Once I get back on a routine where I can actually move and run and do all the things I need to do, I'm hoping that'll help my sleep a lot. But what is it in your life? Do you have a discipline issue at all? Can you think, are there some days you're just, I can't do it? Think about that and think about motivation versus discipline. what motivates me these days, I can tell you this, is the future of my business. I'm always constantly thinking about expanding and getting the bigger land and all these things for the range. I'm always thinking about the next Southern Ornithological League course because those are so fun to do. I love doing them. And the next one, by the way, is in May. It's the 3-day land navigation course is coming up. More to follow on that. And then what else motivates me is my grandkids. So now I have 4, and I have 2 step grandkids are 8 and 9, and then 2, one that's 4 years old and one that's 1 year old, 2 boys. And they're a mess, and they look exactly like everyone else in the family did when they were kids. And their personality, watching their little personalities develop, and just seeing those guys, because they live in Rome, thank goodness, that motivates the hell out of me. But motivation doesn't get you in the gym every single day. It doesn't get you on the chores every single day. Yeah, my wife wants me to cut down trees, and we got a lot of choring. We got a lot of spring cleaning to do around the Mills, the Mills homestead here. And yep, I'm not motivated to do it. I know it's coming, and I know I got to do it, and I'm going to do it. But man, the motivation, whew, that's a tough one. Now, am I being soft here? I don't know. You guys tell me. Discipline versus motivation. That's a common thread. I think that's a common thread in a lot of aspects. So, on a different topic, I just put a blog out, I think yesterday or the day before. I went to the Georgia Libertarian Party convention this past weekend. I am a registered libertarian, and the people in the Georgia party, especially up here in the Northwest, great humans. I love hanging out with them. We see things politically very similarly, and what a relief that is to hang around with people who see things in a similar light. That don't mean go into an echo chamber, folks. That just means it's nice to hang around with people that aren't looking to hem you up if you say the wrong thing. The libertarians. So I had one of my clients hit me up and said, wow, she listened to one of my podcasts, and I guess I was talking about politics, which I do frequently. And she says, yeah, I've always been a conservative, but I didn't really know the extent of what went on, with the libertarians, or what their platform really was. Now, yeah, of course, everybody can go on Google and look it up, but I hope she follows up on that, and I hope she, so looking outside the echo chamber, that's where I'm at. This is a common thread throughout life in all the things you do, in your clique at work, or in your clique at church. For those of you churchgoers, I don't go regularly, and there's no excuse for that other than most of my courses happen on Saturday and Sunday. Fortunately, my barber is my preacher, so I get a little update here and there. But we have been to a church before that was a very kind of swanky. It wasn't a mega church, but man, it was a little swanky and cliquish. And the older we get, my wife and I, the less we like these little cliques. The less we like to, maybe the more judgmental we're becoming. Man, that just now hit me. That sucks. Yeah, maybe we're a little overly judgmental on these little cliques. But you get in an echo chamber where you're passing around like information, right? Similar information, and it's never being challenged. And the information's never being questioned or challenged. So you just embed it like it's fact. And that just is not always the case. And that's a good thing about the Libertarian Party as far as politics goes. Now, this blog that I released yesterday or the day before kind of talked about even in the Libertarian Party, there's still infighting, and there's still people with different agendas. I think at least the Libertarians are a little more civil when it comes to that. The differences within the party I think they're a little more civil with that. There are some sort of extremist libertarians out there on both sides, which is crazy, well, it's one of the reasons I like it so much is that the platform is pretty basic, right? Don't hurt people and don't steal their stuff. And largely the platform is very constitutionally based, originalist, I guess, or not purist so much, but what was in the Constitution was in the Constitution. What was not was not. Now, before you guys get started on, well, they had slaves and this and that. Look, there's an amendment process, right? But it's not some activists come and yell up and scream up on the floor of Congress and you change a law. There's an amendment process. So I think the founders understood deeper than we think that the world changes. And I think they made concessions for that with the amendment process. So back to the echo chamber and the infighting. I think the infighting, the good thing about the Libertarian Party is it's not an echo chamber, because if someone disagrees with you on a certain topic, they'll happily say so. Because guess what? The Libertarians don't cancel each other. You don't get canceled because you say something that crosses the Libertarian Party, which is quite the contrary from a leftist perspective. You say something outside of their dogma and you will be ripped. You'll be dragged over the coals. That being said, look, RFK Jr., he is a diehard liberal, but he stepped across party lines and he has been ripped and slandered because of it. And the word rhino in politics, what does that mean? That means Republican in name only. When you got Republicans for financial reasons or for subversive ideology, who knows why, they call themselves Republicans because they can win in a district, but then, they vote with the Democrats, maybe half the time or more. So you don't have issues like that with libertarians. And I love that Semina and Joe Manchin and Manchin and those guys, I think Semina might be a libertarian, or she might be a Democrat, and Joe Manchin was a Democrat. But I love it that there is that libertarian-esque, the tiebreaker out there, the spoilers. There needs to be that in Congress. There needs to be libertarian spoilers in Congress to keep the red and blue in check from going nuts, from going insane. Because if it's all red, we're going to be full-blown communists in no time. If it's all blue, I don't know what's going to happen if we're all blue. There's going to be human rights violations, and I guess crony capitalism is going to run the world, which it kind of already does anyway. So the libertarians are the check that America needs. The two-party system is broken. Lobbyists, cronyism, lack of term limits. I've talked about that before. The two-party system is broken. We need a third party, a strong third party, somebody that can step up and afford to run with the establishment. And it's tough. I mean, the Libertarian Party's been around since 1972. We've had Gary Johnson was a credible. I thought Joe Jorgensen was credible. And then Ron Paul, who I think ran twice. I was wrong about that. I said that he ran once, but I think he ran twice overall. And again, what a missed opportunity America had there. I believe with some strong libertarian policy, America would see that that's the way to go. Anyway, it's the only platform that really makes common sense. Common sense. And all these things you say you want from whatever side you're on, unless you're just a big government person. I can't even understand why anyone would be, but unless you're just a big government person, the Libertarian Party is there's a space for you. I encourage you to go read the blog that I posted on the website. It's the latest one up, and it talks about political infighting and bureaucracy from a libertarian with a little L perspective. I consider myself a small L libertarian. And I talk a little bit about like some of the hot button issues like transgenderism and stuff. But also, let's talk about marriage for a sec, like just from a libertarian perspective. In my opinion, it's my opinion, and many libertarians share the same thing. Why does the state, why would I need a license to get married? Why do I need any state sanction at all? Well, one of the answers is going to be so you can file taxes correctly. Well, if I didn't have to file taxes, if there was a flat tax or something like that, and there was no loopholes, and the government didn't try to pick winners and losers, and everybody just paid a flat tax or no income tax whatsoever, then why would the government have any stake in it at all? If you ask me, I don't care if you're two men get married or any transgender or whatever mixture of that. Whatever your religious institution is, even if it's one where you and your friends go out in the middle of the woods around a bonfire and get naked and cut off chicken heads and shit, if that's where you want to get married and your shaman ordains and blesses off on that marriage, or just you hold hands with your partner and look up to the heavens and say, hey, we're married, then you're married. All this state interference, that's big government putting their fingers in your life. So if you like big government, but you have an issue with same-sex marriage or something like that, I mean, consider that. Why do you like big government? The government's not doing anything to protect anything for you. It's only adding obstacles. Walmart doesn't have to recognize that I'm married. Washington, D.C. doesn't have to recognize that I'm married. The tag office doesn't need to recognize that I'm married. Who cares? It does not matter. It genuinely does not matter. So why does the government make me license for it? Well, what if you go to another state? Well, same. What if I go to another country? Same. When you go visit a foreign land, you don't take your marriage certificate with you, do you? You know, you have a spouse that shares your name or you share their name. You got rings on your fingers. Yeah, bam, there you go. It's none of their business either. So that's a little brief. I may have taken some liberties there, but that's a little brief view of libertarianism and like marriage, for instance. Between you and your spiritual authority. For me, that's God, Christianity, right? But not the state of Georgia, even though I had to get a license for it. All right, that was a little bit of a rant on that. I apologize. We're talking about common threads in life. Well, politics touches all of us. Yep, politics touches everyone. So as much as I hate it, I still feel compelled to understand it a little bit, or to try and understand it, but not from just what's spoon-fed, but really dive in and figure out what means what. And that's how I landed on the Libertarian Party to begin with. Critical thinking. Critical thinking will get you there. Echo chambers will not. Get out of the echo chambers. On occasion, so I've taken to listening to more podcasts lately. And what I have discovered is that I'm kind of in an echo chamber on the podcasts. Obviously, you want to listen to what you like, right? But on the social medias, I follow some bizarre pages that I completely and totally disagree with, to get perspective, to find out where they're at, what they're thinking, and get some perspective on why they're thinking what they do. And much like extremes on either end, they're usually profoundly flawed in their logic, or they're using information that is just outright propaganda and incorrect. But when you're in an echo chamber, that makes sense to you to do that. So you got to get out of that echo chamber. Yep. Common threads. Discipline versus motivation. And then getting outside of the norm, step outside of your box so you can think a little more independently and a little more freely with a little more input. I don't expect that anyone who goes and sits and listens to let's say, there are communists. There is a communist party in America. I don't suspect if you went to a communist meetup at a local coffee shop that you would walk out brainwashed and a communist. They may make some good points, but you're just gathering data. You're just gathering information so that you can make informed decisions. And the same if you go to a young Republicans meeting. You're not going to walk out a Nazi, right? You're going to walk out having some insight into how they think. And you may have a little more understanding of the things that are important to them. So, and then that may change, discourse a little bit. It may not change your opinion, but it may change the way you interact with these humans in the future. So things might interact a little more civilly, a little more civilized. So think about that. Get out of your echo chamber. Look around. Talk to some other people. Read some other stuff. Not to change your opinion, to inform your opinion. Yeah, that's it. What else, man? What else? I wanted to put out a podcast because I want to talk to you guys. I think coming up soon, well, hopefully next week, I'm going to get my buddy Corey on. Corey, he's one of the guys who founded the Junto Club. He's a father of multiple children with a wide range of ages. So he, by default, is a busy man. And then he works at a pretty prominent company in town in Atlanta, and he does big projects and sales and things like that. So getting that guy here is tough. But when he gets here, we're going to talk a little bit about his passions, which these days is pretty much fitness and hiking, right? He loves to hike and things like that. But he may not want to talk about it, but he was a Navy SEAL as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about his military career and then talk a little bit about his current life and hobbies and stuff like that. He just ran the Mid-State Mile, I think a couple months ago or last month, which is a big deal that a friend of ours, John Cox and Becca MF Jones, puts on up in Tennessee, Franklin, Tennessee, I think it is. So if you're an ultra runner type, you can go up there and check those guys out. Mid-State Mile, it's a big deal. So professionally, what's coming up? Professionally, again, I'm getting ready to go down with surgery, and I'll be down for a few weeks. But what's coming up straight away is March, I want to say 22nd, is a 2-gun match, the Liberty or Death 2-gun match. That's here at the range. That's always a good time. Anytime we have a match out here, it's good. It's very competitive, but in a very friendly way. And instead of World Series, think Bad News Bears. It's like that. It's awesome. And there's always a couple really good shooters. And then most of the folks are just out here really to have a good time. A few of the folks are out here trying to really hone in and get into some competitive shooting, which highly encourage. So this is a good place to break into competitive shooting. Very low stress. And we only do 4 stages because of our limited size here. Yeah, we don't want to be out here all night. And so we only do 4 stages. And they're usually skill heavy, and we do a lot of moving and shooting. There's plenty of space to move around and things like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not a tiny range. But this is a great place to break into it. And then I want to say 5 April, speaking of competition, is the OSS Challenge, OSS the Green Beret Edition. That is also a 2-gun competition, but it's in a similar aspect of like the tactical games or the proving grounds at the sawmill, things like that, where there's some physical fitness involved. Now, the OSS Challenge here in April is going to be a 2-man team event. So there'll be a little moving, a little running and gunning, maybe climbing some ropes, things like that. It's always a good time. It's very, very similar to the OSS Mogadishu Mile. We are being sponsored by Rome Orthopedic this time, at which they always do. God bless them. And then Crate Tactical is sponsoring this as well. Mike Pearson over at Crate Tactical is I say he's the hardest working man in the business. He's everywhere. He takes his trailer and he will go set up shop any and everywhere there's a shooting tactical type event. He sent us some knives to give as prizes, and his business, and they do steel targets, primarily Crate Tactical steel targets, high quality, excellent. They got like the double Texas stars and all sorts of things. So check those guys out. And we're doing all this kind of to spread the word of the Special Forces Foundation, who is a nonprofit out of Colorado Springs, but they help Special Forces families. There's various ways that they do that. One notable way is Gold Star families. You know, they have scholarships and grants and things like that for kids wanting to go to school and things like that. So they are awesome. Give them a look, Special Forces Foundation, to see what kind of stuff that they really do. Let's see what comes up after that. And then we have the Special Mission Skirmish is coming up at the end of April. We already have a few folks signed up for that, but we need more. That's going to be a team-on-team, force-on-force, kind of like a match/mission, right? Each 4-man team is going to be given a mission, the same exact mission, and then you are going to execute mission on the same exact timeline. And there's a planning phase, and then there's execution, right? And we're going to, we'll give you some pointers during planning, but we're going to let the tactics, dictate the day. We'll see what happens. Now, rules will be briefed on game day, obviously. This isn't airsoft or paintball, but we have to make rules that sort of accommodate if you get shot or if you get dead, that we have a way to get you back in the game. I'm not going to have you pay $200-something to come out and get shot as soon as you step off and then watch everybody else do the thing. So it's going to be a good time. It's going to be full kit. And when I say full kit, we have plate carriers and bump helmets, but you can bring your own. Bring your own kit by all means. Bring your own AR-15 because we will provide the bolts, the UTM bolts, as long as it's a standard AR platform, so that we can shoot UTMs or UTM ammunition. Ultimate training munitions is what that's called. And we provide the ammo and the magazines and the bolts for the ARs. And then we have a few pistols as well. So, man, I can't tell you how much of a good time it's going to be. It's going to be fun. And then we're going to do some barbecue after, do an AAR and talk about all the no shit there I was moments. I think you guys are going to have a great time. I encourage you to get your own 4-man team together, but if you can't, yeah, we'll pair you up, or we'll divide the teams up as needed. So that's the end of April. And then in May, we have a 3-day land navigation course coming up. And that's the doozy. That's the big one, guys. A crew hit me up to try to put that together for them, and then they offered me graciously to open it up to other people. So there is one day here in Rome that's going to be all classroom, and that's all academic map reading things. And we'll be working off 1/24,000 maps that I provide. Southern Ornithological League provides all the maps, compasses, protractors, map case, pace beads, all the things you need to be successful. Now, you guys will bring a pack because you're going to be out overnight. It's probably going to be warm, but you'll need water for sure. And you'll need some lickies and chewies and some protein with you as you're out there moving. The lanes are 20-mile lanes. This course was designed with the Special Forces STAR course in mind. So there's a significant amount of movement from point to point, and you will not get your next point until you find your first point. So the tragedy is you don't get to plot your route. You have to just go from point to point, or you don't get to plot your whole course. So you can't do the closest one first and then go in a big circle or whatever. The trick here to all this is that it's the Talladega National Forest, which is some brutal terrain. I mean, when I say Talladega National Forest, I mean near Piedmont, Alabama. So it's north of I-20, just west of Georgia, kind of in the southeastern area of Piedmont, Alabama. These 20-mile lanes, you have 24 hours to find all these. So what that means by default is once we kick off at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning, you have until 10 a.m. Sunday morning to find all the points. The vast majority of that, is dark. So it's challenging. If you are a brand new, so I thought on the last course we did, I thought being a new navigator would be fine as long as you paid attention in class. Turns out that's not 100% the case. So you don't need to be a well-seasoned navigator, but you need to pay attention in class. And you have the option, this time you'll have the option to pair up in 2-man teams or take it by yourself. And more to follow on that. I think we might still run in 2-man teams on that just for safety. So think about that. That's a challenge. Land navigation. And now, full disclosure, I wasn't exactly a frontiersman when I was in the military. Land navigation came as a chore for me, and I fought through it. I think I can navigate now better than I could when I was actually in the Army, just because I put more time and thought and all that into it. Every man should know how to navigate with a compass and a map, or even with just a map, or even with just a compass. And we'll talk about all those techniques and stuff like that in the class. It's a great time. And you'll be challenged. You're going to be physically challenged for one. Just moving 20 miles overnight is a bear. Moving 20 miles overnight in a very specific direction to a very specific point is a whole nother thing. So it's going to be a great time. If you fancy yourself an outdoorsman, or if you're a former, military guy and you're like, oh man, I haven't done this in X number of years, get out there and give it a go. Who else would it be good for? I think firemen. I think any public servant. I think first responder types. I think land navigation would be awesome. Your batteries will likely give out of your GPS, or you'll be in a place where you just don't have signal and things like that. The land nav is an excellent tool for you to learn how to read the earth. And over in the Talladega National Forest, and even Rome here, no better place to do that because the terrain is so robust. It's so well defined. So you can learn how to terrain associate very, very well. And that is very important. Now, unlike the middle of the desert where everything's flat, out here in the north, southeast, in the Appalachian area, yeah, man, you can terrain associate, and the map is really just there to, give you some feel good confirmation when you come to a certain point and you're like, yep, we're exactly right here. That feels good. And on the other end of that, when you don't know where you're at all, it feels very bad. And we'll talk about ways to figure that out. So I want to say May 2, 3, and 4, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is when that course is going to go off. So look that up on 2teamguys.com. That's the number 2, teamguys.com. And you can get all the information on that. Land navigation. It's one of my favorite courses. So with these common threads, we discussed discipline. We discussed motivation. And then we started talking a little bit about getting out of your bubble, your echo chamber, so you can get different perspectives. Do those things. Actively do those things, folks. Actively talk to people you may or may not agree with. Social media is ate up with videos of, people getting in stupid little fights and skirmishes and people arguing and activists yelling in people's faces because they're standing there with a sign or wearing a friggin' red hat or something. We got to get away from that, folks. We got to get away from that. Living in your echo chamber is what causes that. We got to get away from it. We got to be able to have reasonable conversations with each other about things we may or may not disagree with. So, be disciplined, not motivated. Don't worry about motivation. It comes and goes. Be disciplined. Have your priorities set. I can't set them for you, but I can tell you for me, it's my family and my business. Have priorities and then be disciplined in the way you achieve those priorities or the way you feed those priorities. And then get out of your echo chamber and actively seek out at least data, right? At least opinions from other people. And don't assume you know what they're going to say, or don't assume by the way they look that you know exactly how they feel about a given thing. And just have common human courtesy and say, well, I disagree. Hey, it was great talking to you, and move on. Let's do those things, folks. Let's do those things with each other. And then beyond that, hey, I'd love to have your feedback. Try an experiment for a week and then give me some feedback on how it went. If you caught a black eye because of it, maybe it didn't go so well. But look, please follow, please listen to the podcast and share them. Please, if you can rate them on whatever system you're on, please give them a rating. If you think I ramble too much, please let me know. And as always, please reach out. I love to get feedback from folks. I love to hear about topics that people want to talk about because I'm happy to do research and talk about those things. And I'm always looking for interesting guests who can come on and tell maybe not necessarily a gripping, compelling story about heroism, but just, hey, this is me, this is my life, this is how I do it, and it may resonate with some of you. So if you got somebody you think would be a great podcast guest, send them my way, even if they disagree with everything I say. Other than that, folks, please check out the websites, ospreyshootingsolutions.com, twoteamguys.com, and the juntopodcast.com for all your shooting and training needs. Other than that, folks, be good, treat each other well, and see you next time.